Secure the tether.
We're losing the starboard crate. Heave!
Whoa, can you feel this? The ocean is absolutely wild today. Waves crashing, spray flying everywhere. But we're ready. All systems checked, ROV cameras locked, thrusters primed, oxygen tanks secured. Nothing can stop us now.
ROV systems check complete. Clear for deployment.
Roger that, bringing her up.
Regulators on, checking pressure now.
All right, here we go. Lowering the ROV into the deep blue. Look at it go, gliding through the waves, bubbles trailing behind, cutting through the sunlight, shimmering on the surface. Wow. Already, schools of colorful fish are darting past. Jellyfish drifting gracefully, and tiny shrimp exploring the sandy seabed. Every beam of the ROV's lights reveals a world completely alien, yet mesmerizing. Deeper. The light fades, currents swirl, and the silt drifts slowly around. Coral formations appear, rocks and scattered debris, hinting at centuries of mystery. Can you see that? A giant shadow looms ahead. There it is, the Titanic. Its hull rises from the deep, barnacle-encrusted, corroded by time, yet still colossal. We're witnessing history, frozen beneath the waves, and it's more incredible than anything we imagined. And now, we are inside the Titanic. Look at this. Shattered furniture, broken glass, scattered personal items, and ornate mirrors, half covered with corals and silt. Every object tells a story, resting silently beneath the waves for over a century. Moving further, old chests lie here, some partially open, spilling coins, trinkets, and small artifacts. Relics of passengers' lives, delicate and precious. Over here, a skeleton rests on a corroded bed, wearing remnants of tattered clothing and a few pieces of jewelry. Bracelets, rings, necklaces, tiny treasures frozen in time, with corals clinging to the wooden frame and fish swimming lazily past. The history here is tangible, haunting yet mesmerizing. Heading into the galley, rusted stoves, pots and pans lie scattered across the floor, frozen in the middle of a long-ago busy kitchen. Torchlight reveals textures of metal, wood, and silt, every corner a lie. The Titanic lies silent and imposing on the ocean floor, its colossal hull scarred by time and encrusted with corals, barnacles, and marine growth. The deep blue water surrounds it like a velvet curtain, occasionally pierced by faint shafts of sunlight filtering down from the surface, scattering across rusted metal, wooden beams, and scattered debris. The ship's exterior shows the scars of decades underwater, peeling paint, twisted rails, and jagged openings in the hull. Yet the sheer size and presence are awe-inspiring. As the ROV glides past the hull, the torchlight illuminates textures of corroded metal, encrusted rivets, and the delicate patterns of coral that have claimed this man-made giant. Tiny schools of fish dart in and out of crevices, shrimp scuttle across surfaces, and jellyfish drift slowly, their translucent bodies glowing faintly in the light. Silt swirls gently in the currents, disturbed only by the movement of the ROV or the water itself, creating a hazy, ethereal ambience. Inside the ship, the corridors stretch seemingly endlessly. Wooden panels are warped, peeling, and encrusted with barnacles. Beds, chairs, and tables lie toppled or collapsed, some partially buried under sand and silt. Personal belongings, mirrors, broken picture frames, utensils, and fragments of documents peek through the layers of sediment, frozen in time. Each room carries a silent story, a fragment of life long gone, yet preserved in this underwater cathedral. The galley is a tangle of rusted stoves, broken pots and pans, and twisted metal racks. The faint glimmer of silverware catches the ROV's lights as it drifts past. Corals have begun to claim the corners, weaving through broken tiles and the remnants of counters. The passenger cabins are eerie yet captivating. Toppled beds, chairs, and tables scatter the floor, while corals and small fish weave through the furniture. The elegance of these rooms is still perceptible, even beneath decades of water, decay, and marine life. In the music room, a corroded piano leans against the wall, keys warped and partially encrusted with barnacles. Torn sheets of music float slowly in the currents, and the wooden frames of chairs lie broken around it. Soft beams of light sweep across the instruments, revealing the textures of rusted metal, coral, and wood, creating a surreal scene where human craftsmanship meets nature's reclamation. The grand staircase is a majestic skeleton of its former glory. Handrails are twisted, steps covered with silt and corals, and debris from the collapsed upper structures litters the floor. Shadows shift and sway as the currents move, creating an eerie, almost ghostly ballet. Every corridor, cabin, and open space reveals layers of history, telling tales of luxury, tragedy, and human ambition frozen beneath the waves. Even the engine and boiler rooms are a testament to the Titanic's size and industrial ingenuity. Rusted machinery, pipes and valves stretch into darkness, encrusted with coral and barnacles. Torchlight from the ROV illuminates engraved numbers, faded markings, and the textures of metal worn by decades underwater. Tiny bioluminescent creatures drift through the currents, adding faint, glowing accents to the eerie, majestic interior. The sea itself seems alive with this wreck. Silt and sand swirl, fish swim gracefully around the beams of light, and currents move through the corridors as if breathing life into the ship's hollow spaces. Every object, every panel, and every piece of debris seems to tell a story, suspended in a moment between history and the present. The Titanic, though decayed, remains magnificent, a haunting, silent monument beneath the waves, mesmerizing in its scale, textures, and the intertwining of human legacy and natural reclamation. And here, the music room. A corroded piano leans against the wall, keys warped, and sheet music drifting slowly in the current. Chairs and instruments lie broken, yet the space still radiates a strange beauty, as if faint echoes of melodies remain. Every beam of light from the ROV illuminates details hidden beneath layers of silt, revealing the Titanic's silent, majestic story, frozen beneath the ocean for all time. Descending further into the ship, the corridors stretch endlessly ahead. Wooden panels twist and peel, their surfaces encrusted with barnacles and coral. Silt drifts lazily in the currents, stirred only by our ROV's gentle motion. Tiny schools of fish dart through the shafts of torchlight, while small shrimp scuttle across the sand and debris. Every step into this forgotten world feels like a journey through time, a silent cathedral of human ambition and tragedy. Turning into a first-class passenger cabin, the scene is mesmerizing. Beds lie toppled, chairs broken, and personal belongings, silver cutlery, small boxes, fragments of clothing, peek through layers of sediment. Corals weave across the furniture, creating patterns that mimic the design of the original room. The elegance of the cabin, though eroded, is still perceptible, as if the past is holding its breath, waiting to be discovered. Soft beams from the ROV illuminate the intricate textures, rusted metal, faded fabric, and the muted sparkle of jewelry long forgotten.
Haunting discovery in the
Gliding
cargo
into the
hold.
galley, the
sailor has
ROV
waited
reveals
nearly
a
a
chaotic
century for the light
scene
of day.
frozen in time. Pots, pans, and utensils lie scattered, corroded by decades underwater. The remains of a large stove dominate the room. Barnacles crawling over its surface, corals growing around the edges. Tiny fish investigate the corners, while silt spirals slowly in the currents, creating an ethereal haze that makes the galley feel almost dreamlike. Torchlight glints off copper and silver, highlighting the textures of corrosion and the fragile beauty of this submerged world. In the music room, the grandeur of the Titanic comes alive, even beneath the waves. A corroded piano leans against the wall, keys warped and partially covered with barnacles. Sheet music drifts in slow currents, torn and faded, yet still hinting at the melodies that once filled the room. Broken chairs and scattered instruments litter the floor. Light from the ROV catches gilded edges and metallic details, casting small glimmers across the corals and silt. The room seems suspended in time, a surreal fusion of human artistry and nature's reclamation. The grand staircase is next, a majestic skeleton of its former glory. Handrails twisted, steps coated with silt and coral growth. Broken panels and scattered debris lie across the landing, partially buried in sand. The scale of the staircase is overwhelming. Even submerged, it exudes elegance and power. Shadows move slowly across the space as currents sway the silt, creating a hypnotic, almost otherworldly pattern. The torchlight from the ROV cuts through the gloom, highlighting the textures of rust, wood, and marine life thriving in the abandoned space. Next, the officers' quarters offer another glimpse of the lives once lived aboard the Titanic. Desks corroded, chairs collapsed, instruments scattered across the floors. Maps and navigation tools are partially buried under silt, barnacles growing along their edges. The ROV sweeps a light across the room, revealing the interplay of textures: metal dulled by time, wood warped and softened by decades underwater, and coral creeping across every surface. Tiny fish investigate crevices, and bubbles rise slowly from the thrusters, punctuating the silence of this submerged world. Even the boiler room, industrial and massive, exudes a strange kind of beauty. Rusted machinery stretches into the darkness, pipes twisted and encrusted with corals and barnacles. Silt rises from the floor in slow clouds, illuminated by the ROV's lights. Beams reveal engraved numbers and faded markings, remnants of human craft preserved in the deep. Bioluminescent plankton drift lazily through the water, casting faint glows on the corroded metal, giving the entire space a magical, eerie aura. Drifting through hallways connecting passenger areas, the atmosphere is quiet, solemn, yet alive. Every object tells a story. A broken chair, a fallen frame, a toppled table. Corals and marine life create a vivid interplay of colors and textures against rusted metal and decayed wood. Fish weave through the shafts of light, silt spirals gracefully, and the currents carry a sense of timelessness. Each room, each compartment, each corridor seems frozen in a single moment, yet dynamic with the subtle motion of the ocean around it. As we explore further, subtle details emerge. Engraved door handles, faded brass plaques, delicate corals clinging to ornate panels. Tiny fish examine these relics, and soft currents sway the suspended debris. The deep blue water surrounds us, darkening with depth, yet the ROV's lights reveal a kaleidoscope of textures and colors. Rusted metal, golden hues of barnacles, pale wood, and the muted greens and reds of underwater plant life. The Titanic feels alive in its own quiet, haunting way, speaking through textures, shadows, and the slow dance of marine life reclaiming its space. Every sweep of the ROV uncovers more history. Beds toppled in passenger cabins, torn upholstery, scattered silverware, personal effects partially buried in silt, and corals entwined around furniture legs. The galley still shows signs of human activity frozen in time. The music room whispers melodies in the form of decayed sheet music and corroded instruments. The grand staircase remains imposing. Industrial machinery in the boiler room tells stories of strength and ambition. The ship, though silent, exudes a narrative of luxury, human life, and tragedy, woven seamlessly with the quiet persistence of the ocean itself. Through the ROV's lights, the Titanic's underwater world is revealed in all its eerie beauty. Shadows and light dance across corroded walls, silt clouds swirl gently, and marine life moves gracefully around the ship's remnants. Every detail, metal, wood, coral, debris, is part of a living tableau of history, frozen yet subtly animated by the water around it.
The Titanic is not just a shipwreck.
It's a monument to human ambition, tragedy, and the relentless reclaiming power of the sea, inviting us to explore, witness, and reflect on the stories it holds beneath the waves. The ROV drifts deeper into the passenger quarters, and the scale of the Titanic becomes overwhelming. Every room we pass is a frozen fragment of history. Wooden paneling curls at the edges, corroded and softened by decades underwater. Beds lie collapsed, their metal frames twisted and encrusted with coral. Fabric remnants, faded and torn, cling to the corners, swaying gently in the currents like ghosts of the past. Scattered across the floors are personal belongings: rusted cutlery, fragments of mirrors, small wooden boxes, and remnants of clothing partially buried in sand and silt. Tiny fish investigate every crevice, swimming gracefully around debris, while jellyfish drift slowly past, illuminated by the ROV's torchlight. The silt hangs in the water, forming a hazy curtain that enhances the mystery and majesty of the scene. Turning into the galley again, the chaos of the kitchen comes into focus. Pots and pans lie scattered, their surfaces corroded and pitted, while corals creep along the edges. Rusted stoves dominate the room, barnacles forming patterns across the metal. The ROV's lights reveal engraved markings on metal racks and faint imprints in the wooden counters. Every item tells a story: the hands that once prepared meals, the lives intertwined in the daily rhythm of this floating city. Gliding into the first-class passenger cabins, the elegance of the Titanic's design is still perceptible. Though twisted by time and pressure, chairs, tables, and ornate bed frames retain the hints of luxury they once held. Silverware glints faintly under the ROV's lights, reflecting scattered beams across the encrusted walls. Corals wrap delicately around furniture legs and scattered personal items, creating a surreal blend of human craftsmanship and marine reclamation. In the music room, the ROV captures the haunting beauty of artistic decay. The corroded piano leans precariously, keys warped and barnacle-encrusted. Sheet music floats in slow currents, curling at the edges, while the wooden chairs lie broken and twisted across the floor. Torchlight illuminates gilded decorations, metallic inlays, and coral growth, revealing a surreal, underwater tableau. The melodies of the past are long gone, but the sense of artistry remains, suspended in silence beneath the waves. The grand staircase towers as an eerie monument. Steps coated in silt, handrails twisted and barnacle-encrusted, and broken panels lie scattered across the landing. Light from the ROV sweeps across the staircase, casting moving shadows that accentuate the scale and grandeur of the wreck. Every movement of water shifts silt and debris, creating dynamic patterns that seem almost alive. In the officers' quarters, every detail is a testament to life aboard the Titanic. Desks corroded and partially collapsed, chairs toppled, instruments and maps scattered across the floors. Coral and barnacles grow along edges, curling over the surfaces. Torchlight reveals textures of metal and wood, shadows emphasizing the intricate details. Tiny fish weave through the space, bubbles from the ROV floating slowly to the surface, adding to the immersive atmosphere. Even in the boiler room, industrial might is evident. Massive, rusted machinery stretches into darkness, pipes twisted and corroded, valves encrusted with barnacles. Silt drifts through the room in slow clouds, illuminated by the ROV's light. Bioluminescent organisms drift by, casting faint, magical glows across the surfaces of machinery, giving the industrial chaos a haunting beauty. The corridors connecting these spaces feel endless. Rusted panels, corroded furniture, scattered debris, and layers of silt tell silent stories of a ship frozen in time. Corals twist across every surface, small fish and shrimp explore the gaps, and light from the ROV illuminates the textures in mesmerizing detail. The Titanic is a world unto itself, a labyrinth of history, decay, and marine life. Every sweep of the ROV's lights uncovers new perspectives. Broken chairs, collapsed beds, toppled tables, remnants of utensils and instruments, and the intricate textures of corroded wood and metal are all captured in high detail. The sea life adds color and motion to the otherwise somber scene. Small fish darting through corridors, jellyfish drifting, and plankton glowing faintly in the deep blue. Shadows move and shift with the current, the silt swirls gently, and every moment feels alive despite the silence of the deep ocean. Through it all, the Titanic remains majestic. Its scale, elegance, and tragedy are palpable beneath the water. Each room, each corridor, each compartment reveals stories of life aboard, frozen for over a century, yet subtly animated by the currents, marine life, and the light of our ROV. The interplay of shadow and light, rust and coral, silt and debris creates a cinematic experience, haunting, beautiful, and immersive. We glide silently, witnesses to a submerged world, exploring history, one corridor, one room, one detail at a time. Gliding further into the Titanic's interior, every detail is mesmerizing. The ROV's lights sweep across toppled furniture and scattered belongings, revealing textures that tell stories of over a century underwater. Broken chairs, twisted bed frames, and peeling wooden panels are all overlaid with corals and barnacles, forming an eerie yet stunning visual tapestry. Tiny fish dart through gaps, and shrimp cling to crevices, moving gracefully in the currents. A corroded desk comes into view. Rusted knobs and warped drawers hold fragments of personal effects, coins, silver cutlery, and small trinkets, each partially buried in silt. The ROV illuminates engraved patterns on metal surfaces, faded carvings in wood, and the intricate textures of corals growing along edges. Each flicker of light reveals more layers of history, highlighting the quiet yet majestic decay of this sunken world. The galley is next. Rusted stoves, bent pans, and scattered utensils tell the story of a once bustling kitchen. Corals creep along edges, barnacles decorate the surfaces, and silt drifts lazily across the floor. Fish swim curiously around the equipment, creating a dynamic interplay of motion against the static wreckage. The ROV's beam of light picks out golden reflections in corroded copper and silver surfaces, emphasizing the textures and shapes of the remnants. Moving into the passenger cabins, beds and chairs are toppled, fabric and upholstery frayed and faded, drifting gently with the currents. Small personal items peek through layers of silt. Fragments of mirrors, jewelry, buttons, and letters long decayed. Corals twist around bedposts and furniture legs, adding splashes of color to the muted browns, reds, and rusted metal tones. The light from the ROV casts shadows that dance across walls, floors, and ceilings, giving each room an eerie, haunting beauty. The music room offers a surreal, cinematic scene. A corroded piano leans against the wall, keys warped and barnacle-encrusted. Torn sheets of music float slowly, curling with the currents. Wooden chairs and instruments are broken and scattered, yet the room still exudes its artistic essence. The ROV's lights pick out gilded inlays and faint metallic glints, showing the contrast between human craftsmanship and the relentless reclaiming power of the sea. The grand staircase rises majestically, even in decay. Handrails twisted, steps coated with silt, broken panels scattered across the landing. Currents shift silt and debris, creating an almost hypnotic motion across the floor. The ROV's lights illuminate rusted metal, corals, and wooden surfaces, highlighting the intricate patterns of architecture and the grandeur of the space. Shadows shift with every movement, enhancing the sense of scale and awe. The officers' quarters are compact but rich in detail. Desks with rusted inlays, collapsed chairs, scattered instruments, and partial maps tell stories of command and navigation. Corals crawl along edges, barnacles cling to corners, and the soft movement of silt enhances the immersive underwater atmosphere. Tiny fish investigate every crevice, adding life to the silent environment. Torchlight catches engraved details, textures of corroded wood and metal, and small splashes of color from the corals. Finally, the boiler room looms ahead. Massive rusted machinery stretches into the darkness, pipes bent and corroded, valves encrusted with barnacles. The ROV's lights sweep across these industrial remnants, illuminating the scale and complexity of the ship's engineering. Bioluminescent plankton drift in faint glimmers, casting an otherworldly glow on the metal and corals. Silt rises in gentle clouds, creating a moving haze that adds depth and cinematic beauty to the scene. Every corridor, every room, every object is a testament to the Titanic's history. From the smallest coin to the massive boiler, every surface tells a story of human life, ambition, and tragedy, now entwined with the ocean's reclamation. Fish swim gracefully through beams of light, silt drifts lazily, and shadows move with the currents, creating a living tableau of a ship frozen in time. The Titanic remains majestic, eerie, and breathtaking, a silent monument beneath the waves, inviting us to explore, observe, and marvel at the interplay between human creation and the enduring power of the sea. Stupidity.
20 years on the seabed, the wreckage of the U-47 shows the violence of its end. Note the twisted cables and scorched metal. Deep within the wreck of the U-47, the oxygen compartment reveals the heavy toll of time and the sea.